Hello, this is Decoherent, and welcome back to some more Torment Tides of Numenera. Well, it might be the last episode, and I'm sincerely hoping it's not. So here's the deal. Anytime I save after the end of the Sorrow event, after coming here, the save files are corrupt. And I get this glorious message that just says error. So, I don't know what to do. This is my third or fourth time through, and every time it's turned out corrupted, as are the autosaves. I've emailed inXile support and posted in the support forums, and I can't get anyone to respond to me. You know, I'm kind of a nobody, so it's not like I have any strings to pull or anything. So, I don't know. Apparently there are other bugs that have been eating people's saves. It seems like one of them was sort of related to like a cipher limit or something like that. It's not the same thing. What happens is that they get this red can't interact mouse icon, but forever, so they can't move or do anything else in the game. That also hadn't been solved by inXile as far as I can tell, or at least they never responded to it past the first post. So, I don't know, man. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to record an episode here, try to change some stuff, go somewhere else, and then hopefully my new save file will work. And if not,
I find myself trying to watch what
I don't know, man.
I tell around you, lass.
I mean, I've been waiting for years for this game to come out, and I've been having so much fun playing it. I've been, kind of carefully savoring it for an hour or two every day, and to suddenly not be able to progress any further is just, it's frustrating almost beyond words. So, alright, there we are. I'm going to leave myself a couple seconds here of silence in case my save thing does work, so I can cut back in and be cheerful here for a few seconds. It works! Pay no mind to gloomy past me. Everything turns out okay in the end. And if nothing good showed up, then I'm a little concerned. So anyway, let's continue on where we've gone. So one thing that, again, this maybe seemed to have fixed other games in the past, or for other people, was that they got like cipher limits and move things around and stuff like that. So even though we're nowhere near the limits for anybody, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move a bunch of inventory around and then keep playing. So we got a couple things while we were in the process of getting killed. There is this kaleidoscopic mirrorcaster. This small heavy tube seems heavier than its materials of amethyst, glass, and bronze would suggest. Its material is etched with indecipherable symbols, and when you stare through it, as though through a spyglass, the shapes you see lurk just beyond your comprehension. It's tempting to linger and gaze longer on these unhappy forms. Well, that's interesting. We'll hold on to that. We'll poke at that later. And liquid death. This small clear tube holds a tar-like liquid of deepest onyx. When you turn the tube over, the liquid undulates slowly, as if carefully considered whether to move, and then made a conscious decision to slither in the direction of gravity. It waves over itself, through itself, and each time your surroundings seem darker. Well, that's neat. Okay, let's just toss that to someone else for a bit. Hey, my party changed order. Well, that's going to be annoying. Okay, and these are things that we already had. Let's see here. Tiber's ring. The ring is plain and tarnished. Tiber rubs it with his thumb constantly, spinning it around his finger. It's interesting to discover, his previous relationships. We're definitely going to continue with that. Let's take a look here at what the journal says for him. Waiting in the predatory darkness of the bloom. Yes, yes. If I speak to Tiber, he should be able to guide me. Absolutely, because there's no question whatsoever that I'm going to do that. Yeah, still need to find a doctor, and now we need to go to the trade post. Now this is interesting. We've heard a little tiny bit about the Memavira, but not much. Because we met the guards that were blocking the road to and from Sagas Cliffs, so I still have hope that we'll be able to return to some of these earlier places, to the earlier cities at least. So maybe once we've completed part of this quest here, we'll be able to go back and convince that guard to get out of the way and do whatnot. So that's going to be our overarching goal here in the near future. I wonder why Eridus has a talk icon. That's interesting. Well, let's go ahead and let's do our level up, because everyone leveled. So, since I just got a level, I can increase basically anything. Now, I've had a couple abilities whittle away some points from my intellect. I got that crazy look from inXile. I can't remember what it's called. Something like inXile's Madness. That took a permanent hit to my intellect. Edge is doing pretty good for intellect tasks. Extra effort's already at 4. I don't feel like that's an issue at the moment. What could I improve? Cipher use maybe? A nemesis. That's really tempting because I like doing those quite a bit. What are my other options here? Onslaught. Oh, that would be good too, though, because my onslaught's not super helpful. Yeah, this is only 5 damage. That sucks. But I'm spending more time doing other things than I am actually in combat. So let's go ahead and let's max out a nemesis. I leveled up twice. Oh. Okay. Then I want edge on intellect. Because that's essentially free points. Right? Yes. What? How many times do I get to do this? Alright. Maybe I should put another point into something like speed. Do I have anything... Have I done anything that requires speed? I can't remember. I just don't want to go super deep into any one of these, even though everything I'm doing is based on intellect. I don't know. I've got group members that are better at speedy things. I guess let's go deeper into intellect. Alright, finally. Jeez. Alright, Eridus. So you can do anything you want here. Let's see. Could go some smashing. He likes smashing. Fell swoop. Accuracy by 15%. Yeah, the only couple times I've tried to use that, he's missed. Embarrassingly. So what's he got with stat pools? I could increase might. That would be good. Some edge and might be a good idea too. Let's increase might and also speed. That's good. Rin? Effort or skill? What are your skills available to us? Well, that's right. You don't have any abilities, do you? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's already grayed out. So, none of these that we really need at the moment. So I guess let's just add our effort to her. That's fine. And Tiber. Let's see. We've been pushing speed for him. So let's increase his speed edge. Okay. There's my random
you remind
things.
me of a storybook.
What a horrible thing to say. What, you think I'm filled with words and endings?
Yes?
That's funny. Oh, I was just going to think. I want to make sure that their voices are loud enough for me to say. Or loud enough for me to hear. So let's go ahead and let's turn up the voiceover volume. So hopefully then that will give me, some extra options. So, I have a couple people here that want to talk to me. Let's talk first to Eridus.
Oh? Oh, it's you. Can I ask you something?
If you didn't know better, you'd think he looked thoughtful. He rubs the side of his face and then the corners of his sleep-bruised eyes. I've been pondering some things for over an hour about what just happened back there in Mile of Est. All those people with stories so like your own, and now so many of them have just stopped, and I barely knew them at all. How... He pauses, toying with his doublet and staring at the sky. His glow pulses, growing brighter and brighter until it's hard to look at him directly. How are they supposed to be part of my story if they're dead? Yes, he's super self-absorbed, but it's not clear to me anymore how much of that is his fault. I kind of don't want to be a dick to him about the fact that he's being really narcissistic here. So I'm not going to enable, obviously. I mean, because he's clearly concerned about this, and being part of his story is the closest that the voices in his head will let him come to actually showing remorse. I'm going to go with a little bit of something different. They aren't part of your story. Most of them were born long before any of us. Of course, he said, chuckling. I didn't think the world started when I was born. He shakes his head. I often wonder what it was like, you know, the whole world waiting for me to be born, but not knowing when it'll happen. Then he slaps his forehead. We weren't talking about me. We were talking about your family. See? Like, he's just the best. You're so great. There, he begins, and then winces. The glow around him is glowing brighter than it ever has before. He doesn't appear to notice, however. Their stories are over now, aren't they? I mean, unless they come back at some dramatic moment, more powerful than they were before. I love doing that. So I think this glow is whatever's in his head trying to suppress him. And this is the best he can force past them. But assuming that doesn't happen, what does it mean? Their stories mattered to them, I think, but what do they matter now? The golden light of his aura and his casual words can't quite hide the glimmering beads of sweat rolling down his cheeks. Yup, come on, Eridus, you can do it. This, I think, is a good option. Maybe. Okay, so I personally could go for any of these, but since I'm talking to Eridus and everything needs to be woven into this epic, I'm gonna go with the poetic, huge, like, I don't know, the soliloquy that you'd be giving at this point, because that plays into his narrative, and I'm sincerely hoping that playing along with his demons is gonna let him continue to talk, I guess. So let's go with this sweeping statement. I like to think that they live on in our memories, if nowhere else. The stories of theirs that we know are part of something larger now. Yes, he says wistfully, a larger story. I've always lived life to the next adventure, but now I'm wondering where it will end. What will it be like? He pauses, shocked by his own thought. What will happen after? That's rough, dude. Wow. That's rough. Oh, that's... Huh. Wait, don't get distracted. Come back. Okay. Tiber.
I knew.
Tiber paces over a small patch of ground. This isn't ground. I don't know what this is, but it's gross. Over a small patch of grossness, as though caged. I knew he was here, and that he was looking for me. I should have... He trails off, and pulls the ring Drakegan gave him from his pocket. He cradles it in his palm, and meets your eyes. Heartbeat, he says. They work by skin contact, see. I'd know if he was... He bites his lip, and closes his finger over the ring. Drakegan had the right of it, he says, through his teeth. Avigne and I were closer than close. The world stomped on us, but we survived it together. Carried each other through wars and harder times. He looks away from you. We were arms of the same body, but with different minds. Too different, as it turned out. He takes a deep, shaking breath. I loved him, he says simply. We have to find him. I have to find him. Okay, so I don't understand. Can't you just use these rings to sense his mind and see where he is? Right, he says with a trembling laugh. You don't know what you're asking. Back in the old days, it'd be like holding hands. Wrapping your fingers around theirs, right? But with their thoughts and feelings instead of flesh and bone. He shakes his head. I'd need to concentrate for one, and two, I'm not welcome there anymore. He made that clear, and I don't know that I disagree. All right, we'll find him, though. Thank you, he says, nodding. I just want to talk to him, set a few things right, if that's still possible. He swallows and then slips the ring onto his finger. So, what happened between you and Avigne anyway? This isn't the time, Tiber says, but he glances up at you regardless. It was mutual, all right? As time wore on, we wanted different things, and I wasn't willing to... He stops himself and sighs. Leave it. Let's just focus on finding him. Okay, so where do you think he might be?
I'll remember that.
He's... Tiber begins, touching the ring on his hand and closing his eyes. His brow wrinkles in discomfort and confusion. He's somewhere in Little Neelish. Huh, okay. So, how are you holding up? I just hope you won't regret our friendship. Don't worry, Tiber. I think you're the best. Okay, you are kind of a world traveler. What can you tell me about the Bloom? Well, I lived here for a time, although not recently. The Bloom's no place for pleasure. He nods at you. Ask your questions, and I'll do my best. So what do you know about this Drakegan guy? Not enough, Tiber says, looking uncomfortable. He isn't the first man to use that name, and I've heard stories that he can be in more than one place at the same time. Ooh. He hisses air out of the side of his mouth. He pays well, but you don't want to cross him. Ever. You just don't. He's multipartate. Neat. So what do you know about the Memavira? Not much, and I like it that way, he says, grimacing. Now, if you want to know what happens to people who cross her, just listen for the screaming. People are so terrible. So what do you think of the bloom? If I'm being charitable, Tiber looks around. Everything's got the right at a chance to live, but this beast hates the people living in it, he shivers. There's a fortune to be made in here if you know what you're doing, he shakes his head. But only the hardest operators last long down here, and the bloom never misses a meal. Alright. Rin, are you familiar with this place?
Did you want something?
She looks more pale than usual in this place. So, how are you holding up? Before I met you, I asked All if he could bring someone to help me. I know, it's embarrassing. He's not the right sort of god for that. But then you came, and you're even better than anything a god would bring me. Aw. Okay, well, let's continue on our way. Okay, I said that I was going to try swapping some stuff around here, so let's just throw some stuff all over the place here. That actually seems like a Rinish cipher to begin with. Okay, and you already have ciphers. Wow, she can just, like, hold everything. Yeah, let's spread out everyone's ciphers, more or less. Let's see here. Oh, I never used that. Okay. You know what? I'll come back at the end before I save, and I'll move all the ciphers everywhere. I'll just move all the things. This is the muscular orifice that first expelled you into the bloom. It quivers and clenches in agitation. Ugh. These shanties are constructed entirely of tanned bloom flesh, with a framework of harvested bone and gristle.
You remind me of a prince. A tiny glowing prince.
Tiny?
Tiny? Glowing? Prince?
Should we talk to him a little more? I don't know, man. Tiber was really not down with talking to him. This tent is made from scavenged canvas and flimsy wooden poles. It smells faintly of sweat. Oh! It's one that's not made of gross biological materials. Someone built this simple structure from a motley assortment of planks and timber. The wood is rotting in the damp air of the bloom. Let's talk to Kian here. A woman, barefoot and in rags, stands defensively behind her tent. Despite her obvious poverty, she crosses her arms and holds her chin high. And what do you want? Who are those people that ran off? The weird shadowy ones. She points her chin in the direction of the tunnel that leads out of the courtyard. They're called Downley and Vrung. They've been squeezing money out of me for months. Protection, they call it, although obviously they only mean from them. I wish I could do more than simply cave to their demands, but as you can see, I'm not exactly equipped to defend myself. It's all I can do to survive. So is there no functional law enforcement here? Guards? You mean the Memoriva's thugs? All they do is guard her interests and extort money from the gangs. They don't keep order, unless you can pay them. It's the way of the bloom. Delny and Vrunk can do as much as they like, as long as anyone else is concerned. Should we be a do-gooder? Yeah, sure. Maybe I can help. Where did they go?
Remember that.
They crawl out of a hole someplace deeper in the bloom. Little Neelesh, I think it's called. I'm not the sort to wish violence upon anyone, and people even like them, but I hope something will happen to stop them. Neelesh? It's hard to tell how many syllables are in the meta there. I'm sticking with Neelesh. Look at her closely, really? You notice immediately that her rags are actually made of a high-quality fabric. It appears they were once a fine green dress or gown, although it is now filthy and torn. She catches you looking and straightens her posture, seeming almost regal for a moment. Do you want to tell me about yourself? What's going on here? She gives a weak smile and curtsy. My name is Kian, the Bloom's most pitiable storyteller and self-styled innkeeper. Although I admit that inn is far too fine of a word for my little tent, still, I can provide a meal, a bedroll, and at least a modicum of an entertainment in the form of tales from my homeland. Before I came here, I was a noblewoman, believe it or not, a courtier from Sturthal, or Sturthal. She gets a faraway look in her eyes. It feels like a previous life. I wonder if I'll ever find my way back. She shakes her head. I suspect not. So how did you get here? You've seen the cantina, or the katina? The katna, I assume. She gestures broadly at the massive broken vehicle behind her, slowly being subsumed by the bloom flesh. Oh, that must be this thing. It's a kind of magical carriage, capable of traveling great distances by skipping over the space in between. Ooh! Governor Merzik's priest determined that it came through Sturthal on a very precise schedule. It would appear at one of a few locations near Sturthal every 73 hours. Well, among the nobles, it became a sort of adventure. We would dare each other to board the Katna, or even hold parties at a location where it was scheduled to appear. It was exciting. I knew people who went on such journeys and came back with the most wonderful tales. I'd spend a couple of days meeting strange, fascinating people, visiting wild locales. Some, I'm fairly certain, weren't even in the Ninth World. I had to see it for myself. Yeah, who could resist? So, about a year ago, my friends and I threw a Katna gala in anticipation of its arrival. We packed and dressed for adventure, and when the carriage arrived, we boarded immediately. She clasps her hand in front of her and sighs. Sadly, that was the Katna's final journey. It crashed here, tunneling through part of the bloom. Most of the passengers were killed in the crash, and the rest in the months since. I am all that's left of the voyage. Let's continue to be a kiss-ass. You must be a very strong person to have survived for so long. I never considered myself strong. If I was truly strong, I might have kept the others alive, too. She sighs, but thank you. So where's Sturthal? Hundreds of kilometers from here, from what I've learned. As I understand it, the bloom is located in what we in Sturthal call the Beyond, or actually Beyond the Beyond, as I'd never heard of Saga's Protectorate, or any of the places people talk about here. Sturthal is one of the largest cities in the Steadfast. It perches on the edge of an enormous rift in the ground called Voile Chasm. Some streets and buildings even protrude from the cliffsides, not unlike your Saga's Cliffs, as I understand it. It's a cultural jewel in an otherwise war-torn nation. Okay, so here's our inn. We don't need it at the moment, but it's good to know that you're here. Alright. Gonna go look at the ship. This massive vehicle appears to have crashed through the nearby wall. Bloom flesh has resealed the hole and is beginning to grow across the vehicle's surface. You recognize the vehicle as a Katna, a hyperdimensional transport from a prior world. Neat. I wonder if we can get it working again. Hello. A patch has fallen away from the side of the crashed Katna, exposing a compartment that is filled with machinery. Waves of energy radiate from it like a heat haze. Most of the machinery in the compartment is smashed and unrecognizable, hanging by wires and strips of torn synth. In the open spaces between the machine, tiny vortices of light and energy occasionally spring into being, obliterate everything they happen to touch, and then vanish again. As your eyes grow accustomed to the weird blurry haze, you notice a synth canister near the back of the compartment. It seems to be intact. If you stretch out your arm, you might be able to reach it, but if a vortex opens at the wrong time, you could be seriously hurt. Of course we're gonna try to grab it, don't be ridiculous. Tiber's got my back. You reach into the compartment. Well, Tiber reaches into the compartment, fingers scrabbling at the smooth synth of the canister, trying to work it loose. A tiny vortex flares to life near his arm, but you snatch it away, and the vortex misses you by a few centimeters. With a final twist, he pulls the canister free. The canister is icy cold to the touch. On one end, you find a release valve. If you opened it all the way, the coolant could be sprayed out, freezing anything it touches. Deals 25 chemical damage and confers stunned. 3 rounds! You recovered this small canister from the crashed Katna. It is made of smooth synth and is icy cold to the touch. On one end of the device is a valve that can be opened to release the coolant in an icy blast, freezing anything it touches. This improvised use would only be effective once. Cool. That's neat. Where'd it go? Oh, of course. I keep forgetting that things that are ciphers go into your cipher thing. These tents look small and smell like nests of vermin. They're littered with moldy blankets and scraps of rotting food. Okay.
I think that's best.
Exiles. Huh, can I talk to you guys? What are you exiles from? Who runs the council now? Well, nobody of interest. Bloom Dweller. Hungry. Walk without fear tonight. No, I fear. I fear for the Memoriva. Don't eat me. Okay.
Learning begets doing. Or is it the other way?
Let's see here.
I am the very soul of action.
The metal gates are firmly shut. They're blemished with age, but still strong.
Eratus. Yes, Eratus? I was just thinking how wonderful it would be if there were 3 of us.
Okay, well obviously they're not going to let us in here yet. Coruscating rings of blazing energy hover vertically just inches from the fortress wall, offering no clue as to their true function. Interesting.
Sure.
I know there's lots of people to talk to, but I just want to walk around and look at everything first. I love looking at things. More crude shanties, they're wedged into a corner, fashioned from scraps of wood, cloth, and metal. Whoever built them was apparently not concerned with safety. That's not a code.
Sure enough.
Oh. Cool.
Go.
Oh, this place is so neat. Basic supplies from outside the Bloom. Yes, yes. Bloom cultist. Oh, we're gonna go poke at that. What is this
Yes.
stuff?
Now.
The pool is filled with a yellowish water that falls from above. The surrounding bloom flesh is wet with hand and footprints, suggesting this is a common place for bloom dwellers to wash and drink. Let's look into the pool. The pool extends downward like the circular shaft of a well. If it has a bottom, you can't see it from here. In the depths of the pool, your sharp eyes catch sight of a long worm-like shape. It appears to be caught on a projection of bloom flesh, and it's wiggling helplessly about. Erdis! Buddy. Friend. This seems like a heroic opportunity for you. 75 or 85? 95. Just go do it. It's all good. We know where an inn is. Erdis plunges into the murky fluid. As he dives deeper, he sees that the shaft opens into a much larger cavity. At the edge of the larger space, he reaches the wriggling shape you saw from above, and struggles to untangle it from a bony knot of bloom flesh. Finally, it slips free, and he swims for the surface, reaching the top just before he runs out of air. In the light of the courtyard, you see that the wriggling object is some kind of bloated worm, its skin continuously shifting from one material to another. Silvery metal to pliable synth to leathery scales to other materials you can't identify. It appears drawn to your exposed flesh, and it would likely fasten itself to your arm or leg if you allowed it to do so. Well, I'm not going to drink any fluid here. Can I poke at it? You find a small discarded flask at the edge of the well and fill it with the yellowing fluid. Okay, so what's this thing we got? It's a cipher. Plus, whoa! Protected after the entire crisis? The skin of this bloated worm is continuously shifting from one material to another, right? If attached, it would cause your skin to take on the same shifting properties as the worm, which would provide you with some additional protection. However, symbiotes like this creature rarely live for long, so the effect will be short-lived. This is definitely something that I want to have on our buddy Rin here. This confers bloom juiced. Eerie whispers fill your mind, hinting at countless secrets to uncover. Oh, neat. This flask contains a yellowish fluid that you collected from a well in the bloom. It has a greasy texture and a faintly sour odor. When you take a sniff, you can hear the whispering voices of the bloom in your head. Huh. That's interesting. Can I just drink some of this directly? Yep. You take a sip of the yellowish water. It has a greasy texture and a slightly sour taste, but it quenches your throat. You take another sip, and you start to hear whispers. They're faint at first, but they grow louder, resolving into the chittering voices of the bloom. They buzz in your ears, scratching at the inside of your skull. You stumble, struggling to keep your balance. Even as your senses dull, the bloom's voices seem clearer than before. In this particular place, you sense that the bloom's voices aren't speaking to you directly. They're whispering incessantly to someone else, but the identity of the recipient isn't clear. Okay, so what did I get? Is this something terrible? Oh, okay, so it doesn't do anything. Okay, good. Whew. So it's talking to someone else. That's interesting. Okay, well... Yeah, the fleshy spout hangs from the wall. Yeah.
Learning begets doing. Or is it the other way?
Oh, actually, here's another good idea. Let's go into whatever this next zone is, too, and then shuffle our info around and then save. And let's see if that's enough. Can't even express how concerned I am about this. This game has just been so much fun. Okay, let's move some stuff around. Let's give some stuff to Rin. Boy, Rin can carry a lot. Let's give some stuff to Tiber. Let's give a couple things to Tiber. Oh, actually, I want Rin to have that. Okay. Should I scatter some other items around? Sure. Why was I using that? Oh yeah, that's because that one was really good. Here, Tiber, why don't you carry some of these? That seems kind of something along your style. Here, why don't you take the oddity? Alright. This is it, the moment of truth.
What is that song? I've never heard it before.
Lass, if I told you the name, I'd never forgive myself.
Cute. Actually, let's just do this on camera. Okay, what is this? LP49, something like that. Save game. Exit to main menu. Okay. Please, 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 please work. The bar didn't go backwards. Oh my god. We're saved. And on that bombshell, join us next time for more Torment Tides of Numenera. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.